Oh, God's real. So my husband had just went through a toe amputation. He had had a total of 4 toe amputations, all within 11 months. We had went through all our savings, and he wasn't able to work. I wasn't working because I was having to take him back and forth to doctor's appointments, and life was absolutely crazy. I was literally having to call around to churches to see if they could help with like anything, because we were that broke. We were having our vehicle repoed. We were fixing to lose our home. Everything was crumbling around us. But I prayed to God and I said, God, you have to solve this, and I don't know what to do because I've tried solving it myself, but I can't figure it out. The next day I called a church that was in a town next to us, and a man answered. I told him a little bit about our story, told him what was going on, asked him, does that church simply help with maybe electric bill, water bill, anything at that point would have helped? He said, yes, we do. Let me get your information. He said, I want to know more about your story. He said, could me and my wife come and visit? And I said, well, yeah, it was a man from a church, so I thought this can't be too dangerous, so it should be fine. The man and his wife come the next day, sit down, visit with me and my husband for a couple hours. Great people, very, very sweet people. And they leave that day. He calls me back later that night or that next day, and he said, hey, would you mind if me and my wife came by again? He said, we want to talk to y'all. And I said, yeah, that's fine. And I was thinking, oh gosh, what is it? They come, they sit down, and he proceeds to tell me and my husband, me and my wife have discussed this, and we're going to pay all your bills until your husband is able to get his disability, whether that take 3 months or 3 years. He said, you are not going to have to worry about one thing. He said, so take it off your shoulders, kid. We have it. We also lost our vehicle in the process of all this, and he said, just let it go back because the motor was about gone in it. He said, it's not really worth keeping. He said, we actually have a vehicle that is not very old. It only has 30,000 miles on it. We are going to give you this vehicle. We're going to put it in your name. We're going to go get insurance on it. We're going to put gas in it, and it's going to be your vehicle. Y'all, these people were sent straight from God. No one else. Straight from God. Me and my husband are still great friends with these people to this day. They are our guardian angels, and they were sent straight from God. We check up on them all the time. They are getting older, but they are doing this type of work for God all the time. They're always helping someone, and I just love to hear stories from them because I'm just like, oh my gosh, you are helping so many people. And he's not wanting any kind of praise. He just knows that he is able to help people. He has it to help. And he said that he would not have that money if it wasn't for God. And so that's the reason he does what he does, is because God has blessed him with the money he's got, and he thinks that he needs to bless others. So he's pretty amazing, him and his wife both, and that's how I know God is real.
Hey friends, so I got plenty of stories like this, but I'm just share this one with you because it's interesting. So this one time back in 2017, I had lost my job. Well, it made it really bad, but somebody had prophesied over my life that I was going to get all these promotions, to get all these things, and everything opposite happened. During that time, we're a household of 5, my husband, 2 older kids, and then we had a child that was under 1 year old. Luckily, we are able to survive solely off my husband's income, but it was going to be very tight, because no one was expecting the job to be lost, and it was right before Christmas. Now, on this particular day, we was planning on how we were going to get groceries, and we had nothing in the cabinets. I mean, they were bare. Not only that, friends, but he had direct deposit coming into the account, and it ended up going to the wrong account, so we didn't have that money either. All I had was some change in the bottom of my pocketbook that I was going to take to the corn store to get some dollars. So as him and I were outside talking, this lady walks up to me and asked me, excuse me, do you have a quarter? So I'm thinking in my mind, what's she going to do with a quarter? And yes, I got a quarter, but I'm going to use it at the corn store. But I didn't want to say that to her, so I just decided to give her all the change in the bottom of my pocketbook. I don't know what I was thinking about, but I just gave it to her. So she takes the change, she walks off, that's it. My husband tells me, I got $150, I'll give it to you so you can go get groceries for the house. And at that time, my mom calls me. Now, my mom is the sweetest lady you'll ever meet. She will give you the shirt off her back, her very last can of peas, anything she'll share with you, she'll feed anybody. She calls me and she tells me she didn't have any groceries. So now I'm thinking, Lord, how am I help my mama get groceries? And all I got is $150 and it's 5 of us in the household. So I tell her, look, I got $25 that I can spare to you. I can come to your town. We can go grocery shopping together. So we do that. I make a detour. I go to her town. We go to her grocery store. She gets her groceries. And as I'm shopping around with mine, I got my calculator out. And I'm like, you know what? Let me just get these kids some Hot Pockets. They just so happen to be having a sale. The sale was something along the lines, if I bought a box of Hot Pockets, I'll get one free and then I'll enter a chance to win money. So I'm thinking in my mind, let me just go ahead and buy one of these Hot Pockets. So we get up to the cash register and the lady is ringing everything up and I'm scared like, Lord, I hope it don't go over the amount that I have because I didn't get the full amount. I wanted to make sure I had a little couple dollars for cushion just in case we needed something else. And I'm constantly worrying in the back of my head, this ain't going to be enough. This ain't going to be enough. We ain't going to have enough groceries. I don't know what we're going to do next. The cashier rings everything up and when she gets to the total, it's supposed to be $132. But it discounts everything off except for like $7. So she tells me my total is like $7 and some change. And I'm looking at all the groceries that we have. And I'm looking around and she's like, something's not right with you. So she calls the manager over and the manager looks at the cash register and she's like, you did a sweepstakes or something like that. It says something like a sweepstakes at the bottom. Baby, I had them won for them Hot Pockets that I picked. So now I'm looking at all these free groceries and the cashier was like, girl, I don't know what you did, but you won the sweepstakes. And all I could think of in that moment was that God will provide. Give, and it shall be given unto you. Good measures, pressed down, shaken together, running over, shall men give unto your book. All from a few quarters. And throughout the remainder of the year, friend, where it looked like everything was going bad and it was going opposite of what the prophecy was, everything was actually working together for my good. So if y'all want to hear that story time, just let me know down in the comments and I'm going to tell y'all how everything turned around and was very divine, honey. Well, friends, I'll call y'all back later. Bye.
Hello. Yes, I've got one for you. Short backstory. In 2013, my mother passed away. Shortly after, in 2016, my father passes away, leaving just me and my big sister. And as life would have it, in 2018, my sister passed away, leaving me in a really bad place, questioning God, questioning my faith, questioning everything about life. My last conversation with God, I completely wrote him off. I was crying, bawling. I said, I'm done with you. There's no way, if there is a God, no good and just God would do this, take both of my parents and my only sister, leaving me here alone. I was done. But that's when I got this message from a nun directly from God. And here it was. So after my sister passed, I took some time off of work to handle her affairs. Upon returning to work, my first day back at work, this happened. I'm helping a customer in the business when a nun walks in the door and she stands there. I turn to her and I say, I'll be right with you. I'm just helping this woman. And she said, don't worry, take your time. I don't need anything. I'm just here to speak to you. Oh, okay. So I finished helping my customer and who was intrigued by what the nun had just said. So she had stepped to the side because she wanted to hear this conversation that was about to take place. So I turned to the nun and I say, what would you like to speak about? And she said, I'm here because God has a message for you. He knows that you've been questioning your faith and he knows that you are hurting. And he sent me here to tell you this. So now at this point, my heart's racing. I'm like, what is this woman about to tell me? I'm thinking she's crazy. What is happening right now? She looks at me and her hands on her heart and she says, God needs you to stop questioning his plans. Stop questioning your faith and trust his way. She then said that there's a bigger picture that I can't see and I have to just trust. She said, the reason why they are gone and you are still here. She said they. Now, this nun doesn't know me, my backstory, doesn't know anything about me, but she said they. She said, the reason why they are gone and you are still here is part of God's great plan. and that there is something that I'm still meant to do here. And that's why I am alive and they are gone. So at this point, I am in tears. I am hysterical. The customer's hysterical. I got up and I asked the nun if I can give her a hug. She said yes, and I gave her a hug, and she whispers in my ear, "Don't lose faith in God. Keep him in your heart, and know that you are never truly alone." And that was it. She left. It was insane, but it was so necessary. I needed to hear that because I was in the worst place of my life. I didn't know what was going on. And after hearing what she had said, I just decided to trust timing, trust that there was something I'm meant to do. And here we are today. I'm still here. Thank you for listening.
I love this challenge. So what happened to me, it probably was the summer of 2013. And at the time, I had my 3-year-old and my 1.5-year-old in the back seat, in their car seats. And I was following my boyfriend at the time, who is now my husband, with my other 2 kids in the car with him. And we got stuck in traffic on the interstate, so we took an exit to come the back way, going back towards home. And to this day, I still don't know how it happened or what happened. All I know is I was making a left onto the road, and somebody hit me from the side. And all I know is I just started spinning. I had a little Toyota Corolla, and I just started spinning. But what was scary to me was that my kids were in the backseat in their car seats, but the windows were down. And all I could think of was to grab my daughter's car seat. But for whatever reason, I could not reach the handle to put my seat, to put my seat back. I heard something say, "Lean back." And when I leaned back, I could feel my seat fall on my son's legs, who was directly behind me. And I could grab my daughter's car seat. And as I'm spinning in the street, I could see glass, and I could just, it was like I was on a merry-go-round really, really fast. And I said, "Lord, help me." And right then and there, the car stopped. Just stopped in the middle of the street. I couldn't move. The way the car hit me, it kind of pinned my legs in. But I heard people running to help us. I heard people running to help us. And all I could see was my daughter's car seat leaned out the window. And I thought, Jesus, please, not my babies. And somebody came on her side and picked her, opened the door, and he was like, she's fine. And then somebody came on my son's side behind me and was like, he's good. And I could hear them crying, but they weren't crying loudly or anything like that. It was just like a muffled sound in my ear. And the guy was like, "Are you hurt? Can you move?" And I was like, "I can't feel my legs." And he was like, "Okay, don't move. The babies are good." And at the time, my husband was in front of us, and so he seen the accident happen, and he turned around in the street, and he came back, and he took the 2 little ones, and he gave them to the 2 big ones. And he was like, "Baby, are you okay? And I was like, "I can't feel my legs." And he was like, "Okay, it's gonna be okay." So the ambulance came, and all I kept was wondering was if my babies were okay. And they were like, they're fine. So we get to the hospital, and they're asking me what happened. And right in that moment, I realized, I know, beyond a shadow of a doubt, that I have angels, because there was no possible way I was able to grab my seat handle to put my seat handle back, but I felt I literally heard lay back. And when I laid back, I basically, by me laying back, I pinned my son in and was able to grab my daughter's car seat because it was tilted out the window. And y'all, I walked out the hospital that night. Don't know what happened with my legs. I was a little sore, but I walked out the hospital that night, and I didn't know then why that had happened. But fast forward, I knew that was the day that me and my husband solidified in our hearts that we were going to do right by God. And I knew that God was telling me that day, not yet. He's real. He's always right there. And we will perform in this earth what we were set out and created to do because He said so. God is good and He is real. Whew.
So this still gives me chills anytime I talk about this or think about it. So my 15-year-old son and his dad were hit head on. It was 5 o'clock in the afternoon on a Saturday, 6 years ago. And they were driving back from hunting up in the hills, and they were having a great day, and guy moved 2 lanes over and without warning and hit them head on. And 45, 50 miles an hour doesn't seem fast really, but when they're both going 45, 50 and it's head on and 2 trucks, there was nothing left of the trucks. There was nothing left. And I got a call that my son was at the hospital and they were life-flighting him to another hospital, a bigger hospital, 5 hours away. And no parent wants to get that call. I sped to that hospital, and my son had just tubes and ports and coming out of everywhere. And they said that he had a spinal cord injury, a femur fracture straight across, broke his femur straight across, and 2 pelvic fractures. And they weren't quite sure, if he was going to walk or what was going to happen ever again. They weren't sure. And so they had him heavily sedated. And, of course, I sat next to his bedside, and he would wake up once in a while in the intensive care, and he would say, "I'm okay, Mom." And then he would just go back to sleep, and I'd say, "Okay, Bubby," and he was so worried about me. That's just shows my Bubby's heart. He's just so kind, and he was more worried about me, how I was feeling, than himself. And his just whole body was bruised from his neck down. I mean, even his little fingers were just huge, and his whole body was just a huge bruise. And you couldn't even touch his stomach. You couldn't touch anywhere on him, and it would just hurt so bad. So that's probably why they had him so sedated. He was just in so much pain. But so, like I said, he hadn't said much. And the third night, I think it was the third night, it was pitch black in there, and I hadn't slept much, of course, but I wasn't worried about me. I was worried about him, and they kept trying to urge me to go home, and I'm like, nope, or go get some sleep, because there's no beds in intensive care. But I was not leaving my Bubby, so I was leaned up against the bed with him and holding his hand, and he woke up at 3 a.m, and he said, "Mom, I gotta tell you." And I was like, "Oh, no, you don't have to talk about it." Because I knew you wanted to talk about the accident. I was like, "No, Bubby, you don't have to talk about it. You don't have to." And he said, "No, I gotta tell you, Mom." And he was just so adamant. Well, he said, "I woke up in the truck." And he's like, "I was stuck in there. I was pinned in there. I was stuck." I said, "Yeah, Bubby, they had to use the jaws of life to get you out, but you're out, and you're going to be okay." And he said, "But Mom, I turned my head and I looked at my dad, and he was having convulsions." And I said, yeah, your dad got a bad head injury and other injuries, but he's going to be okay. He had surgery. And he's like, well, no, Mom, I got to tell you. And so I was just like, okay, just be quiet and let him say what he wants to say, you know? Stop trying to make him not talk about it, you know? Let him say it. And so, he said, and I looked out the window on the other side, Mom, and there was a girl there, and she looked like Kayla. Well, Kayla's my oldest. I only have one girl, and it's Kayla, and then I have 4 boys, and my bubby, and Joey is the baby. And he said she looked like Kayla, and he described her to a T. He said, but it wasn't Kayla, Mom. It wasn't Kayla, but it looked like her. And he described her face. He described everything she was wearing. And I said, well, and he said, Mom, she asked me if I believe in God. And I said, well, what did you tell her, Bubby? And he said, I told her yes. And she started praying for me. And yeah, that just sent chills through my whole body, my heart. And my heart was just like overwhelmed with like warmth. And I had chills throughout my whole body. Every hair was standing up. And he said, then I looked back over at my dad, and he was still having convulsions. And I looked back, and the girl was gone. And he said, the next thing I remember is a firefighter coming to the window. And he said, we're going to get you out. And, you know, they used the jaws of life, and they got him out. And when the investigators and the police talked to me about the accident, they just couldn't believe that a 15-year-old would be so calm. And he just said, okay, when they said they were going to get him out. And he didn't say nothing else. And, you know, we spent 2 weeks in intensive care. And then we got sent to Denver. He had to be in a rehab hospital for 4 months with intense rehab. Just learning how to live as a paraplegic, because he's paralyzed from his waist down. Learning how to live like that. And he's just an amazing, amazing person. And, but while we were there, we had no clothes. I didn't take anything with us. Didn't have nothing, you know, because we took a plane to Denver. And so I took my first Uber and went shopping and got him all kinds of clothes, and me a few clothes. And when I was going through the checkout at Ross's, the lady was like, are you okay, ma'am? And I said, no, not really, you know. She's like, what's going on? I said, oh, my son's in the hospital up here. It's been rough. And she could probably see it in my face. And she said, I'm going to pray for you. And then she was telling me about archangels and the color green and how I should light up his room with green. And she was just really sweet and made me feel really good about, you know, just made me feel really good about it and about things, because I was having such a horrible, you know, couple months. And, well, I fast forward, we get home 4 months later, and Joey's sitting in his room, and I go in his bedroom, and he's staring. I got him this beanie hat, and it was reversible. You know, there was a pattern on one side, and the other side was solid, and he's staring at it. And I'm like, what are you doing, Bubby? And he's like, oh, nothing. And I said, what, you don't like that? Or why are you staring at that? And he said, Mom, this is what that girl was wearing. And it was just another sign. I don't know. I never really thought I believed in a whole lot, but that really made me believe, and I believe there was someone there. And they said there wasn't any girls on the site of that accident, but someone was there. Someone was there for my Bubby. And I don't know if it was an angel. I don't know if it was a real person, but someone was there for him, and that warms my heart. And, you know, he's going to have struggles his life, but I still can kiss him and hug him, and he's an amazing person, and he's got a heart of gold. So I just wanted to share that with you guys.
When I saw this stitch, I immediately I had my reservations on it, and I kept asking God, like, do you want me to share this? Should I share my experience with you? And so this last stitch that I saw compelled me to want to go ahead and share my experience with God. So at the time, I was in my 20s, and I was living in a one-bedroom apartment alone. And I recall, so whenever I'm having like a dream that I'm having sleep paralysis, or it's just a bad dream, I'm feeling like, spirits are after me or anything like that, it's a bad dream, I always have this defense mechanism when I'm asleep where I always wake up like that. And I say, Satan, the Lord rebuke you in the name of Jesus. And it always brings me out no matter what. It's my safe haven when I'm asleep. But this particular dream or experience was nothing like that. I'm laying on the left side of my bed, and I hear a voice come to the left side of my ear. And as I'm speaking to you all right now, I can recall exactly how that felt. And I can feel like a secret was being told to me, because I could feel the words. I could feel the words, the feeling of someone whispering. You know, when someone's whispering to you, you can feel their breath on your ear. So God came to me and said to me, I am always with you. I will never leave you. And so I believe he was speaking to the spiritual me, but the physical me began wanting to speak back. And when I heard myself say, but you said, and I was immediately crying when I said, but you said, and I don't know what I was going to say, because that was obviously a conversation between God and the spiritual me, not necessarily the physical me. So I don't know. But that experience with God let me know that throughout all of the days of my life, to always know and think back on that conversation, because for whatever reason, he wanted me to know that I am always with you. I will never leave you. And I just felt so grateful and so, I'm not going to say special, but I guess that is special, because God was able to come to me and say those things to me in a time that he felt that I needed. And I still use it so many years later. That was in my 20s then. I'm in my 40s now. And even when I'm going through times, I'm not going to say, because right now things in my life are going pretty good. I'm grateful for things that are going on in my life. But times that have been hard, I've always reverted back to that dream. So I just want to be encouraging to anyone else that is looking and watching this video, to let you know that God is real. He sees you. He's with you, and he will never leave you. Okay. So I hope this encourages someone. And if you have an experience of your own, please do share. You never know how you might bless someone else's life.